Hi, welcome to my net zero home and welcome to the 2021 Eco Solar Tour. It's the virtual version. So I'd like to take a quick moment, introduce myself. My name is Tara Bloom. I built this house, I took possession of it in 2014. I've always had a thread of the living alternative and living more in the sustainability realm. So building net zero fit perfectly into my overall values and mandate. Today, I'm going to take you through the energy efficiency of my home, some of the build and the tech. I'm going to take you through intentional living, and I'm going to take you into my garden, my food garden, and some of the additional stuff that I've done to bring value to my micro-generating net zero home. We're going to take a moment and talk about the technical aspects of building a net zero and some of the things that I did that made it a little bit different. So right off the top, I was building with a production home builder. So I was really lucky. They were able to do up a board with a lot of my words in it. And I placed this board right at the front of the front door. So as soon as any trade bodies or anybody came into the home during the construction period, they knew that there was something different with this build. I highlighted all the specifications that made the home net zero. So it was a great reminder for them to check their paperwork. This is something that was really an ounce of prevention saved a pound of cure. So this board was really a winner for me on that aspect in construction. So moving along, instead of going to the mechanical room today, we are going to go through a few boards just to talk about the construction of the home. So one of the things that the builder did is that they manufactured everything, panelized it, and brought it to site. I've got a few pictures that demonstrate how the home was just lifted and put together within a day or two. So it makes it a lot better structure, a lot stronger structure as well in that build. We did spray foam insulation for extreme efficiency as well. And then the window. So spray foam does have a bit of a debate today in regards to whether you should use it for sustainability or whether you shouldn't use it. At the time in 2011, 2012, the technology was definitely to use spray foam because it also provided insulation, but it also helped with the building seal as well. Now, it is pretty pricey. My husband was working in drywall at the time, so it was a lot more attainable for us to do that. Our attic has about an R60 and about 4 feet of spray foam insulation in it. So we did definitely go all the way on the spray foam insulation. All right, so here we have under slab rigid insulation. So the insulation here, it's about a 4-inch pocket of insulation. And this is probably one of the most economical and attainable ways to insulate that basement floor. It all of a sudden becomes a very cozy basement when you've got that rigid insulation underneath, and it doesn't draw as much heat from the bottom up. So this was an easy win as far as energy efficiency goes. Now we're moving to the mechanical room. The mechanical room is where I kind of start to light up. You'll see what it's like when I get to solar. However, some of the things that make my home super energy efficient is that all the mechanical runs electrically. So I have an air source heat pump hot water tank, and it runs on the same technology that your fridge does. So it compresses fluid and uses the energy from that compression. So air source, hot water tank. And then on the flip side, we have something called a drain water heat recovery unit. And the drain water heat recovery unit allows you to recover about 40% of your wastewater heat in your home. So this is another win when people ask, how can I make my home more energy efficient? Dropping one of those in, I think installed, is about $1,200. And you save a lot of that wastewater heat. So as far as being energy efficient is also making sure to recover the heat that you've already paid and supplied. This is a board we're going to start talking about how the air flows in the home as well as how the home is heated. So this is an air source heat pump This is a Mitsubishi air pump. And then we have an HRV system here as well, heat recovery ventilator. So these are two really important bits in a high performance or a net zero home. So I often use the analogy that moving into a high performance house is like living in a plastic bag, right? You have a tightly sealed building envelope. And now we need to make sure that all of that air is properly ventilated and circulated. So I like to call the HRV unit the lungs of the home. So this is the unit that's going to bring in fresh air and exhaust fresh air into a home. Now, most people find it really satisfying when they put a fan on and they can hear the direct vent fanning outside. This guy, in a high performance home, everything vents directly into here and then breathes out. So these machines become really important pieces in a high performance home. Now the cold climate air source heat pump that we've got here, now my unit is outside and then it runs inside. Now, a lot of people think that I required extra ampage to the house because of the solar that I create in my home. Now my home is all electrical, and the reason why I need 200 amp service to the home is because when all of these units are working, especially in the winter, the electrical draw that comes off the grid is so large, I need that extra service. So we're going to move on to one of my favorite boards, and that is solar. I love solar energy. I first moved into the space of owning solar. So we had a north-facing duplex and we moved into our net zero home, and I became the owner of a 13 kilowatt system on this home. There was a lot of things that happened that I wasn't expecting. I was all of a sudden really proud of owning a power plant and being a micro generator and being able to overproduce and feed my neighbors clean and renewable energy. There's a lot of really good stuff in the solar space and renewable power specifically for homeowners. So I wanted to take a moment and talk about intentional living. So the home is where the heart is, and it's where we raise our children and we really grow love. And one of the ways that we all like to love each other is through food. And I've got a picture of my family here simply because that's where the love is, right? Is with your family. Everybody can relate to that. One of the ways that I've brought intention into my home is not only with the energy efficiency. I think the energy efficiency allowed access for that. It was kind of a doorway for a more intentional living. But one of the ways was food production and looking at different ways that you can produce food in your home. So one of the ways that I do it is with an urban cultivator. So it's a bar fridge. It's spec'd to be a bar fridge. The whole unit is roughly about, I think, 2,400 brand spanking new if you wanted to plumb it in like this. And it's just beds. I've got a bunch of my perennial garden stuff and my annual garden stuff going in here. So some flowers and sweet peas and basil and thyme. And then down at the bottom here, so the whole system is plumbed in. The water runs at the bottom down here in a big reservoir. And then I program it for light and for water, depending on the top and the bottom. So it's very, very user-friendly. It's a little on the ironic side too, because my solar panels produce power that provide renewable energy to my grow operation in here. So there's a little bit of that cycle going on as well with the energy. So in here I've got chives growing, and again I've got some more flowers for the garden. A lot of the times I'll just have beans and pea shoots growing, and then I pull them out for supper and put those out in the middle of winter. So this guy has provided a lot of entertainment and intentional living in our home. There was a lot of questions on why I wanted to put a wood-burning stove in the house. Well, that's not very carbon friendly, Tara. However, there's a lot of good ancestral, cultural, human creature comforts in an item like this. Now you'll notice in my living room, I don't have a TV down here. Our entertainment is putting this on in the evenings and enjoying the warmth and the glow from the fire. Everybody has iDevices on the sides. However, we enjoy the sky solely without any large TV around it. It radiates heat. And then we've got a little efficiency fan that runs just on heat through electricity. And I will push a lot of the heat to go up the stairs so that the bonus room can experience some of that heat as well. I'd like to take you for a quick tour through my garden. It's an edible garden, it's a food garden, it's a permaculture garden, and it's an ancestral garden. So one of the first things I'd like to brag about over here is a haspis. Now these guys are northern blueberry plants. They are beautiful. One of the first plants to come in the spring. They provide these great, juicy, slightly sour blueberries, and I've got 3 of them in my yard, in my front garden. So 1, 2, and a big guy right over there. And I got the 3 of them to help with pollination, and so that they can keep each other company. So moving along, I've got an apple tree here, and this apple tree came from my mom's garden. So that's where that ancestral piece comes from. I also have a peonies from my own grandmother that's just growing its 3rd year. This year, you can see it's red coming up. So I'm hoping I'll have grandma flowers from the peonies this year. Moving along, this guy, I love this plant. This is a goji berry, and you can see my goji berries just starting to get its leaves in here. And the goji berry, this little plant, I've had it for about 3 years, and last year it produced so many fruit berries that every day for August and September I was able to come out and have a very healthy feeding, and my freezer got multiple bags of frozen goji berries. But I gave it a lot of attention as well. It knows that I like it. And then I'd like to take a moment and talk about one of my very favorite plants. And this is a rhubarb. So again, another ancestral plant. I got this one from family. And rhubarb is such a great place to start your garden. I plant this guy, again, he's first in the spring, has no problem with the cold weather, comes back strong every year. And he has these huge leaves, and they'll get massive. And he'll come up probably about 4 or 5 feet and have these huge limbs that come out, these huge leaves. Just such a gorgeous plant. He provides lots of safety and little micro environments for all of the other little helpers out into the garden. So I love rhubarb plant. One of my favorite ones to start off with. So, come to my backyard. Along the side here, this is an extremely sunny space. I've got some pollinating flowers. I'll put my sunflowers will come up here. I've got a poppy bed in here, and some other cosmos and flowering plants will be out there. In this area, I've got my compost, which I just turned over, and I put the compost into the veggie bed, which I'll be planting shortly, as it is May long weekend right now. And then moving over onto this side, I have a small gathering area for eating over here. And then in this area, this is called a huviculture. So basically what it is that I dug about 3 feet deep, and I put in a whole bunch of like brown compost, if you will. So just stuff that will biodegrade and is natural. And then I put soil on top of it. And this allows me to only water very, very occasionally. I don't have to run out and water my plants all of the time. And because I've got a slope to my backyard, I am currently working on tiering. So I've got a step down here, another huviculture that I'm building. And then a step down. This will be another garden bed. You can see I've got more potatoes to go in. And then you've got a third huviculture. This was one of the first pieces that I started with in my backyard. And it's a circle. And it's got all of my life-giving herbs. So we've got sage, that's coming back from year to year. You can start to see the thyme, oregano is starting to come. That's a weed, but that is mint. And when it all fills in, it's just this beautiful, lush circle of life, I like to call it. So from the circle of life, it gets all of the water from the rest of the backyard, and it all comes back to this place. In wrapping up the tour today, or the Eco Solar tour bit, there was a couple notes that I wanted to mention, or just to highlight for those that are thinking of building or in the building process altogether. So the first item would be that, energy efficiency, living more intentional, and just a better way of living is part of the future. And if you enjoy it, or you like it, or you're interested in it, I highly suggest to move into that space. Start doing it, start adding it, start living it. It's things as simple as a drain water heat recovery or planting food in your garden. And then it sparks more energy and more of it starts to come in. So if you're sitting on the fence in any way, I want to encourage you that yes, you're doing the right thing, and moving in that direction is something that I guarantee you will not regret. So to get down to some of the basics, if you are thinking about it again and you get a little bit overwhelmed with all of the technology out there, my suggestion would be to find a certification program that would work for you or that aligns with your values. So whether you're working with Passive Home, whether you're working with EnerGuide, there's several different sustainability leaf certification programs. There are a ton of them. For my home and for the builder that I was working with, we did the EnerGuide. Now this was rated down in like 2013, so it's a vintage certificate. But you can see on the EnerGuide, this is the old EnerGuide report, built year in 2013. Most homes sit at about a 70 or a 72 on this old rating. Energy efficiency is at an 80, and this home was rated at a 97. So it has it's an incredibly energy efficient certification in this program. And again, it was the builder that was working with this program, and it was something that I aligned with, and we decided to go through with it. So if you're confused about what to do, look and see what the certification programs. It'll also help you guide your build, and it'll also help you out with the resale value on the back end of that. The last thing would be choosing a builder or doing it yourself. In the space of choosing a builder, the biggest thing that I recommend is check out and see if they're walking the talk. Does your builder live in a net zero home or a high performance? Are they relatable, or is it a sales manager and you don't really get to the owner somehow? These homes come with a higher cost simply because they are more than just a home. I've mentioned that they are also a power plant as well. So in that concept, you really want to spend the time to see if your builder aligns with those values that you have. If not, it will be a disappointing experience, and you don't want to spend that extra money in disappointment. The second last is get inspired. Check out the tour, check out other people that are building stuff on the tour. What inspires you? What ignites your interest? And does that play out in a home situation? So use your intuition, get inspired. And the last comment would be, don't get overwhelmed by all of the technology and professional opinions, and I like this and I like that. Everybody's got a spreadsheet and everybody has an opinion. Find your own intuition and what you want to do, and work from there. Thank you for joining me on my Eco Solar tour and joining me around the home. I really enjoyed going through all of the items in my home and talking about energy efficiency and intentional living.